This is your everyday workout. You'll need a resistance band and a yoga block. We're going to start laying on the floor, feet a little bit wider than hip distance apart, letting the knees drop in towards each other and starting to find our three-dimensional breath. My heels are nice and neutral. My pelvis is nice and neutral with my knees dropped in to release my hip flexors. I'm going to engage my pelvic floor, which is that kind of deep Kegel sensation. And I'm going to start to breathe through my ribs, keeping my floating ribs as closed as possible. So I inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth while maintaining a soft jaw. Nice deep breaths. And with each breath, try to feel the spine and the ribs moving away from each other while cueing the pelvic floor, sternum to ribs. I'm placing my hand gently on my floating ribs to kind of feel that knitting and the closure between the ribs, trying to find that posterior or back of the body breath. But you don't have to. You can always keep your arms out to the sides. Just breathing gently as we start to find that awareness of our bodies, keeping our spine in neutral or that natural curvature of the spine. We're going to flip on over and come to laying on our stomachs, pulling our abs in so that they are kind of protecting the low back. I'm going to take a couple of nice deep breaths here. I'm going to inhale again. Exhale, pull my abs in, tucking that tailbone under, drawing the core in nice and strong. Now I'm sliding my shoulders down away from my ears. I'm going to start to engage all the way up the hamstring, reaching the leg so long that it floats up off the floor. And it's going to float right back and down. I'm going to switch to the other side, floating that leg up by reaching it out. And I'm using my abs so much that my hips don't shift side to side. As I inhale and exhale, lengthening the spine. I have my hands folded on top of each other, resting my forehead on them. And I'm also keeping my jaw soft and relaxed as I switch side to side. And extend the leg nice and long. And again, switching sides. Drawing that core in to support the spine and the hips. This isn't a big movement because we're already almost pretty much at full extension when we're laying on our stomachs. We're going to reach both legs off the floor and we're going to hold this, supporting and reaching through those legs, keeping that pelvis nice and strong so we don't load our low backs. And let's gently release back and down. You can bend your knees and windshield wiper them side to side or just wiggle the hips, just kind of getting a little bit of a release through the low back and pelvis. We're going to slide our shoulders down away from our ears, pulling the abs in. You feel that connection all the way down those lats. I'm going to float my head and shoulders off the floor, gently holding, without holding my breath, feeling that gentle sips of air into that three-dimensional cavity of the back. Let's switch which hand's on top and do that again. Inhale here, slide the shoulder blades down. Exhale, pull the abs in, floating the head and shoulders off the floor as we hold. Breathing with those little sips of air, using the low abs to support the spine. Let's float back and down to release. Let's unfurl our arms out to the sides, thumbs to the ceiling. Now, if it's uncomfortable to rest your forehead on the floor, you can always grab a yoga block or a pillow and pop it underneath your head. If that feels a little bit better, that does not feel better for me today. I'm just gonna rest my forehead on the floor and extend my arms out to the sides. I'm reaching my thumbs nice and long, and I'm gonna float my arms off the floor and back it off. And there's a hold at the apex of this movement. Now, as I do this, I'm still keeping my abs engaged to support my back and spine. Exhale to lift. Now, I'm going to do 10 of each, but you can do as many or as few that feel right for you today. And hold. I'm still relaxing my legs, but keeping my pelvis really stable as I hold, reaching long, opening up that chest. Let's float our heads up in line as well. Again, I'm using my abs so I don't load my low back. This is almost a little bit of an exaggerated neutral, but not much more. And again, I'm going to pulse those arms and reach, and 2 and 3. And there's a little hold at the apex of each movement, and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7. Pull those abs tight. And 8, hold and release. Very nice. Let's reach our arms forward, slide our shoulders still away from the ears. We're gonna slide and lift one arm up at a time without letting the shoulder come up to the ear. I'm again sliding my shoulder away from my ear, strengthening that posterior rotator cuff. As I reach and down and reach, alternating sides still, keeping that nice connection and still using my abs to support my spine. reaching that arm long. And again, I'm gonna do 8 of these to each, alternating to each side, but do as many as feel right for you. I'm gonna float both up, keeping the shoulders out of my ears, pulling and holding. Now I'm gonna float my legs up, my chest up to join it as we hold, pulling those abs in for 8, trying not to load that low back. We're almost there. Draw those abs in, still keeping that 3-dimensional sips of air. Breathing and reaching without elevating the shoulders, and release everything back and down. Take the hands to the chest, round through the spine, and find a little shell stretch, rounding through that spine. Deep breath. We're gonna come to all fours next. We're gonna extend one leg out nice and long, squaring the hips so the hips don't open. I know it's hard if you feel a little bit like a corkscrew, but you also wanna keep the hands underneath you. So this is gonna help with keeping your shoulders square, squeezing those lats and not hyperextending the elbows. Now, you're gonna reach the opposite hand to elbow, and that's gonna help you stay nice and square as you float that leg up. And we're just gonna hold that, reaching long, keeping that nice square and trying not to open your hips. We're gonna bend our knee, pulling our hips into a square position, not opening them up, as we also pull into that gluteal fold, keeping those hips nice and square. Here's a fun little trick. Grab that yoga block and pop it on your back. Or you can always use a book, and you can really feel if the hip is moving around because the yoga block will slide. And we're just gonna squeeze and hold while also lifting that knee as high as we can, keeping it parallel and creating that static engagement. And we're gonna just pulse it if you'd like. And really reach and hold, really reach. If it's too much to hold, you can always do a pulse, flex that foot, squeezing it in and pushing that heel to the ceiling again, sliding the shoulder blades down, feeling that nice connection. You can do a little pulse if it's starting to cramp, but try to keep that nice and maintain that engagement, floating down. And let's switch to the other side. You can slide the yoga ball out of the way. We're gonna do a little bit of an extra glute engagement. I'm gonna open one arm to the side, coming down to my elbow. I'm gonna lift my legs wide. I'm just gonna hold this nice and strong. I'm gonna count to 10. Again, you can come out of it at any point. You can extend the leg long if you want a little bit more spice level. You'll feel the body kind of shift, but try to feel like the toes are dragging towards the camera basically, and slide the shoulder blades down, loading that outside arm. You can always keep it bent or long, whatever feels right for you. And let's return. Now let's do the other side. Let's grab that yoga block again and place it gently on our hips so we can kind of try to maintain that square pelvis with a little bit of a tactile assist. Draw the abs in, again, hands under the shoulders, sliding the shoulder blades down, pull the abs in as we float that leg up. Let's reach across to our opposite elbow, trying to make sure it's not locked. And we're just gonna hold that, pulling our abs in, tucking the tailbone under as we extend long through that leg. Again, drawing the core muscles in, let's bend that knee in, squeezing it towards your bum. And again, you can always have it as a pulse or as just a long hold. As we squeeze that heel in, flex the foot and squeeze it in, holding. Try to keep those abs really engaged to support the spine. Let's point that toe out nice and long and gently float it down to release. And again, let's place that yoga block out of the way, coming down onto our elbow and kind of opening the arm out to the side. I'll turn this way so you can actually see this a little bit easier. Lift that leg and you can hold it to the side, keeping that nice connection, drawing the abs in, and you'll feel that the hips will unsquare. You can also always extend the leg and keep it nice and long, but you're kind of reaching through those toes so that you don't shift too far towards the leg that is bent and on the floor. As you hold, whichever position feels right for you, and then we'll just float it down to release. Again, a nice little shell stretch, reaching those arms forward, relaxing those shoulders. For our next exercise, we're gonna need a yoga block if you're a bit tight, and you're gonna come to a nice seated position. You can actually do this exercise seated in a chair if you'd like. We're gonna sit crisscrossed applesauce, sitting up nice and tall, kind of draw the flesh out from underneath our sit bones so that we can feel that support coming all the way up the spine. We're gonna take our TheraBand and wrap it around our back, kind of where our bra strap would be, taking it underneath our armpits, in towards our thumbs and out towards our fingers, making sure that we don't wrap our arm hair. As we reach forward, we're gonna feel our ribs engage. I'm gonna do 10 of each, but do as many as feels right for you, making sure you're not collapsing and rounding forward, but that you're opening the collarbones, keeping that nice wide and open front of body, keeping that upper back really supported, just like we did when we were laying on the floor. There's that big reach forward as I still draw the elbows under, finding that nice gentle lat support. I'm going to open to the sides, keeping the palms to the ceiling and the wiggly parts of the elbow to the floor. Again, focusing on opening and lengthening through the collarbones and chest. As I exhale to open, not going too far. If I go too far, I'll feel a little bit of a flare in the ribs. We want to avoid that. That same connection that we were finding at the very beginning of this series. Reaching nice and open. And again, I'm doing 10 of each, but do as many or as few that feels right for you today. Each day is different. We're going to sit up nice and tall and start to make those circles. 2, 3, beautiful long neck. Making sure I'm sitting evenly on my hips as I circle my palms, keeping them up. And here we go. Let's reverse. Still keeping those elbows under and the chest open. This will kind of encourage that width and that expansion through the upper body. Gently, our next exercise, we're going to lift the elbows, not turning the palms, but lifting the elbows. You're going to feel those posterior delts or the back of the shoulders again. Just like when we were laying on the floor with our arms extended overhead, lifting. We're working to open up and strengthen our postural muscles. Breathing gently. Exhale to lift the elbows. You might feel like warming sensation, and that's okay. We're just going to hold. 2, 1, gently reaching through those fingertips, turn the palms down, bend the elbows in, and release. You can go ahead and get that TheraBand out of the way. And we're going to stretch out our neck. Sitting up nice and tall, again, keeping our jaw soft, bringing our ear to our shoulders, rolling the chin to chest, and then other side. And right back up, and other side, rolling the chin forward, tucking it tight like you're holding a little pea pod in your throat. And then to the other side, and right back and up. We're going to come to laying on our backs next. We can roll those shoulders out first though, and the last big roll. And let's go ahead and come to laying on our backs, and you're going to grab that TheraBand and put it out of the way, and you're going to have the yoga block between your thighs. And your heels are in line with your sit bones, and the yoga block is a little bit lower than your knees, but pretty close. And again, I'm at that neutral pelvis. Pubic bone, hip bones, nice in alignment, and that cervical spine is just lengthening nice and long, soft jaw. And again, keep that jaw soft, inhaling through the nose, exhaling through the mouth, finding that ab connection. As I inhale, and again, 3-dimensional breath into the rib cage, just like we did at the beginning. And you're gonna exhale, squeeze the ribs, squeezing the abs, zipping everything up as you tuck that tailbone and spread out those toes, pulling those abs in nice and firm. Squeeze that yoga block nice and firmly and hold. Squeeze. 2, 1. And then again, nice big inhale, 3-dimensional breath. And again, exhale, squeeze and tuck that tailbone under just a little bit, lengthening the back. Draw the core in as we lift those hips up nice and high. Now you can always reach your arms along your legs to make sure nothing is popping up or sagging down, but you're creating a nice flat line all the way through the body. You can keep your arms up or open them out, and I'm gonna squeeze with my inner thighs. I'm squeezing against that yoga block. And again, exhale a little squeeze. And 2, activating the inner thighs. And 3, squeezing those glutes. And 4, and 5, and 6, and 7, and 8, 2 more, 9, and 10. Squeeze as hard as you can. Squeeze, 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 tucking that under, and roll right back and down. And again, if this ever cramps your hamstrings, you can do the same exercise, but with your feet up on a wall. Inhale here. Again, you're gonna exhale, squeeze those abs. Keep that nice connection as we lift up. Pressing down into the big toes, activating all the way down the inner thighs. We float those heels up and back and down. And then I'm not dropping my heels. Again, I'm feeling like I'm like squeezing or juicing a lemon underneath my heels, pressing it down. And again, exhale, press and press. And again, I'm gonna do 10, but do as many as feel right for you. Little squeeze. And with each squeeze, I'm tucking that tailbone under a little bit more, and I'm gonna roll all the way back and down to release. Go ahead and grab that yoga block out from between your legs. You're gonna have it nice and flat. You're gonna lift those hips up, and we're gonna do a little bit of a stretch. I'm gonna very gently extend your right leg out nice and long, opening up through the femur and the hip joints. So you're gonna feel those hip flexors. I'm not pulling my leg in, but I'm kind of letting it fall into my hands so I can really open up that bottom leg. Breathing here gently, feeling that nice kind kind of soft release through the SI joint or the sacrum. Breathing here as you find that nice slow and gentle breath. With each breath, feeling the body release and relax, making sure the right leg is in alignment and not kind of out to the right. Sometimes if your glutes are tight, you'll find that the leg kind of wanders off. Breathing slowly. When you're ready, draw that knee in, placing the foot on the floor, and you're going to extend that inside leg, getting a nice stretch. You can always take a TheraBand and hold it over your foot, kind of pulling down, or you can just gently hold and circle your ankle. If you have the TheraBand, you do not need to circle your ankle. You can just kind of take that nice calf stretch. I like circling my ankle. It helps with kind of getting all the lovely little attachment points of the calf and into my foot. I'm going to circle my foot 5 times each way. Pull it in, and then gently fold that knee in. You're going to place that foot on the opposite knee, creating a figure 4, but flex the foot to protect the knee as I hug my knees into my chest, both releasing my hip and my low back. Again, breathing gently and slowly, feeling that soft, lengthening sensation through the back of the body. I love this because it kind of releases my low back and my SI joint while also opening up my hip. Breathing softly, let's float that leg down, and we're going to gently switch to the other side. Now make sure that that left leg is in alignment and not kind of wandering off to the side. I'm going to kind of, again, hug the knee in towards my chest, but it's not about bringing it super tight, but it's more about opening up the bottom leg. So you should feel a lengthening in both the quadriceps and the hip flexors. With each breath, feeling the body soften and relax a little bit more. When you're ready, draw that bottom leg in and extend that inside leg. Again, you can get that TheraBand or gently hold as we circle our ankles for 5 each time, each direction. 5 little circles. Breathing slowly and feeling that lengthening sensation in the back of the leg. And reverse those circles for 5. Breathing slowly and gently. And with each breath, you're going to feel a little bit more release through the back of the leg. Let's flex those toes and pull the leg in. Nice and slow. Folding that leg in. Nice figure 4. Again, flex the foot to protect the knee and turn that leg out nice and strong. Finding that nice kind of luxurious stretch through the back of the body and into the hip. Breathing and lengthening the spine, feeling that release into the SI joint or the sacrum. Slowly float those legs down. You can lift the hips up, get that yoga block out of the way as you come right back and down. Just like when we started, opening those knees up, letting the feet kind of be supported and kind of let the knees drop in as we find that gentle breath. You can open those arms to the side and take those slow 3-dimensional breaths, feeling the gentle lengthening sensation in the body. Thanks so much for joining me, and see you soon.